I guess I survived.
I found this picture of this aerial hoop practitioner on Reddit and thought it would just be pretty clever to add a dream catcher design within the hoop as if she was caught in the dream. So this would have been my first time trying Inktober, and so the theme of this sketchbook is to try something new every time and not just do the same thing over and over again. I really like the design of Spider-Gwen, so that's why I wanted to try to do like a selfie motif fan art piece. And I wanted to go realistic with the face. Found out pretty quickly that that's really difficult, especially when you're working on something that's not very large. So I ended up going with this slightly cartoony stylized face, and it's my first time really trying that, but I think it worked out in this case. I feel like I got real lucky with this one. Here's where I start questioning whether I want to actually keep pursuing this. I was considering giving up, but you know what, I just powered through it. I didn't really follow the prompt on this one. I was kind of unsure how rigid I wanted to be with this challenge. So yeah, I was thinking along the lines of a motion path like in After Effects or Photoshop, kind of inspired by the tricking VFX stuff that I do. A lot of people did this take on Agent, whoever this is, one of the lesser agents of him dodging bullets.
Dodge this.
Even though I saw other people doing this, I was like, you know, I'm gonna give it a try just because I wanted to try something different where I'm like using these squiggly lines that I like doing as accents, but to render the whole piece. So I had actually worked ahead for dodge, which was really helpful because that's when the Go train went down.
And network-wide system failure.
It's currently dealing with an internet connectivity issue.
It says you could have network connectivity problems.
So I lost a day. That's when I figured out I can't really do the piece in one day. I kind of have to like work ahead a little bit. So I actually have to flip over 2 pages because I missed a page by accident when doing the next prompt. Everything's out of order. My OCD is very bothered by this. Now I'm trying to find excuses to draw stuff that I want to draw and not just stuff that like I feel like fits the prompt. I was thinking of giving her hair that's made out of a subway map, but that was too like linear, and the Toronto subway map is weird. I opted for making it look like a topographic map, and this one did really well. People seem to really like portraits, so maybe I'll do more of these. So after map, we've got golden. So I'm trying to ride the theme of portraits now. I wanted someone with like gold face paint on and to try to mimic what that reflection would look like. But I also didn't want to use gold. In my head, I'm still thinking, oh, I want to commit to just like this pink accent color. I tried some new shading things, a mixture of cross-hatching and stippling. We've got drip toed. This was my first time combining 2 prompts, and that's just to kind of save some time, save some paper, and so that I could have a life. I was initially gonna do like 1 prompt here and 1 prompt here, but I thought it might be more fun to combine them into its own concept. So yeah, we've got a toad, and there's dripping ice cream, and if you think hard enough about it, it's a bit not safe for work. So this was another combo prompt, and I did this because this was around like Canadian Thanksgiving and I'm trying to save time because I don't want to be drawing every day while I'm on like vacation. This was the first time I tried to do like a solid background, and I'm again mashing up 2 concepts. So we've got a fortune cookie that's being broken open in space, and the idea behind it was she's looking down at the earth being like, you're fucked because of all the weird shit that we've done to our planet. I feel like the combo prompt really forced me to think of weird stuff. So Spicy Wander was this explorer lady, and she, instead of holding up a lantern, she's holding up like these glowing peppers that are just bioluminescent. And rather than even like looking around in this dark cave that she's in, she's like closing her eyes being like, okay, guide me, glowing peppers. Trying to figure out how to make something look like it's glowing. That was a big challenge. The idea for Rise was this necromancer, and rather than just like conjuring up spirits and the undead, she like bakes a cake and then out pops her undead minion that she can command and stuff. Not the strongest piece, so I can kind of get behind why it didn't do well. Castle. Photo I found on Reddit, love this photo. Wanted to mimic her eye makeup, so I kind of tried to repeat this like 3-point motif on her headphones. The idea being you are the castle, your experiences, your successes and failures, that's what makes you you. You are all like all the bricks of experiences. Next we've got dagger, and I didn't want to just draw like a literal stab dagger. There's a lot of cool cloak and dagger fan art out there, and I wanted to do like a positive and negative space composition, but without copying what's already been done, so I tried to use some of my like line style design stuff to make it look like he's kind of ethereal and smoky. Another one to add to the selfie motif series. This one was cool, not much done to it, like followed the reference and added wings. The idea behind this is when you feel like you're not good enough to do something, you can just like project yourself into a better version of you. I use this technique a lot, especially when I'm tricking. I'm trying to project a better version of myself who has the confidence to like do the shit that's scary to me. This is one of those mind tricks I use on myself a lot. So for demon, I didn't want to actually like draw a demon, so I thought about like pushing away your inner demons. Let me know if you can read this. Here's a hint, it's about telling your demons to go away, and it's using some colorful language. First time using graffiti as more of a dominant element in the composition. So this... Oh hey, subscribe to see more of me losing focus on camera. Fuck. Alright, focus! I hated these two prompts. I just couldn't stand saddle and plump by themselves. So I combined them. It couldn't have worked out more perfectly because we've got saddle on this bird, chicken, dragon thing. And if you've watched Heavy Metal, then you know plump, Tarna. This whole thing, just spectacularly lucky how that worked out. So when I was 12, I tried to come up with this original character, and I almost didn't share this because I felt like it was a bit too personal, but you know what the hell, why not? Yeah, I wanted to imagine her as if she was like a real person who I could like call up and say hi to and catch up with. Since this first image was done 20 years ago, I'd like to think that she also aged 20 years and this is what she would look like. Trying to bring her into reality a little bit. So chains also not very inspiring, so I was thinking chainsaw, and I'm like, okay, what can I do? And then, oh, lollipop chainsaw, another one for the selfie series. I wasn't happy with the actual drawing. I felt like there were a lot of mistakes, so I wanted to cover them up by making this into a more graphic design presentation. So this was my first time using blue, and then I was like, you know what? I don't have to use pink for everything. Why don't I use two colors? So this is where that starts. Scratchy is just a weird prompt. What else are you gonna think of when you think of Scratchy? It's the cat. Or if you have chickenpox, but that's a bit weird to render. So I thought, you know what, okay, let's do Itchy and Scratchy, reimagine them in some sort of like fantasy, post-apocalyptic kind of thing. Also, I used a bit of a scratchier style because I was using the dip pen and I was in a rush, so I was kind of like trying to, you know, shade some of this stuff. So there's a double meaning to this. It's like the physical style of how I drew plus the Simpsons cat cartoon person. Really happy with the composition of this one. I liked how this samurai surfer is swiping across and creating like this nebula. Again, kind of inspired by the tricking VFX stuff. So there's another nod to that. I didn't really know how to render the water, so I ended up doing a bit more of this like nebulaic pattern, which I guess is part of the point. He's surfing through the nebula. It wouldn't be water anyway. It's like, I loved this one. This, to me, is so cool. I love those like futuristic compositions where you have like half of it in one, half of it's in a puddle. And so I tried to do that, and here's where I'm starting to get a bit more confident with my ability to render full scenes. If you were to compare it to like some of my earlier stuff where there aren't even backgrounds, me starting to get a hang of seeing an image in my mind and being like, okay, I can make that happen. This was a nice like confidence boost for me. And yeah, so this is the sad stormtrooper, and we've got two meanings here. According to Star Wars, stormtroopers aren't that dangerous. That's why there's like that anti-meaning here. I find that me, someone who has depression, like the most dangerous thing I can do is to like not reach out to people or not talk about it, because then it's just like in here and it just poisons me. I've had depression since I was like 18, and it doesn't really go away. It's always just going to be a part of like me. And so I got to get better at managing it so that it doesn't like influence me negatively too much. Remove. This is one of my favorite concepts, I guess. Since I'm a graphic designer, that just means I'm in like After Effects and Photoshop a lot. So one of the things I have to do as a graphic designer is erase backgrounds. So I wanted to make it look like the background of the page is being erased by doing this like gray grid pattern that I heavily associate with Photoshop. This one trips me out a lot because I'll look at it and be like, am I looking at a PSD? What's happening? I really liked Legend of Korra and the spirit beings in that show, so I tried to do my own interpretation of that without actually like looking at reference, just kind of what I remember them looking like. And I'm starting to play with these glow lines using a gel pen. And yeah, I wanted to do more of a fully rendered scene here. Got a bit overconfident with this one. Did a lot of shading before adding the color, which was a bit of a mistake because some of the colors ended up being a bit more muted than I would like. But I think this was a successful build on these glow lines. Trying to do some more things with them, like create a dress from the pattern. This is for sparkle, so I'm imagining like a fairy who's sparkling. A bit of inspiration from Navi from The Legend of Zelda. Oh, okay. I really like this one. So I learned some lessons from here where I inked everything before adding the color. They're not as vibrant as I wanted them to be. So I did really light inks here, did the color, and then added the blacks after, and I feel like it really added like that sort of atmosphere that I was going for. This glowing beast who kind of shows up. The trees are growing out of him, so all he has to do is kind of like stand up and emerge, and then he's there. And then you're like, oh shit, what do I do? Am I tripping right now? I think the edible is kicking in. Someone in the shorts comments said they would give him a hug, and I'm like, of course try to give it a hug. He wants a hug. I was just gonna get stomped by this thing. So we're at day 30, rush. As I'm doing this challenge, it feels like I'm in a rush all the time. And it's so hard to just keep going when you're tired, and every time you don't want to do the same thing. So I'm like trying to one-up myself, you know? I don't even remember when the last time I did a self-portrait was. It's probably like 2018. I thought this would be the perfect time to inject a self-portrait of me. Like what I look like when I'm drawing and holding the camera. And then I added my Halloween face paint because that's like, you know what's interesting? Is I wore that to work and I felt like more me than I usually do, and I'm like, oh shit, I remember this. I'll see my reflection and I'll be like, oh, that's you. I'm more used to seeing that than I am like my own face. Anyway, I'm not super good at drawing like fire and flames, you know, like how they would look like in a cartoon. So I tried to use some of my like wavy line language that I've been developing, so that makes its first appearance maybe here. And so I think this is an appropriate one to compare it to, because here you can see I'm not really going into the shading at all. I'm just kind of leaving it to the features, and here I'm trying more stuff. I kind of wanted to end this challenge on a high note. I wanted to try to implement all the little things that I've learned, all the little elements from other pieces. Like we've got these like glowy dots, we've got some marker pink and blue hair, we've got a portrait, we've got these body lines that I started working on in say this and this, and trying to implement that into a portrait. Another fun contrast is just in how like this, the rendering here, and how it differs from here. This is kind of like my default state of how I like my lines to look. I like them to look loose, I like them to look dirty and unorganized almost, and just have all that chaos come together into something. And then here, I'm trying to be a bit more methodical about where I'm placing light and shadow and how lines are moving through. So it's two different approaches. Both I feel like are me and represent my style pretty well. But yeah, that's how I got from here, and 30 days later, 31 days later, we're here. And yes, I do have the timestamps to show that I like started this on the 1st and ended it on the 31st. So I consider that a success. And then we've got here, can't be walking in my shot. I'll be quiet. It was 5 minutes. Now you're just in this video forever. I see you almost walking in my shot. I'm gonna try to do 15 more prompts. I'm not sure what the prompts are gonna be. And I also don't know what rules I'm gonna use. I might do full color, I might do the same color scheme that I've been using, we'll see. When we get there, I'll put up a link. But in the meantime, if you wanna see all the shorts in a playlist, click over here. Or there, or I don't know where I'm pointing. It's gonna be somewhere on the screen.